All right, what's going on, everyone? How is everyone this evening? I'm very excited because I never thought I'd have this man on my channel. You know, like I said, I'm a small fish in a big pond. But I'm just a huge fan of this man's work. He's very talented, extremely talented. A lot of you own pieces of his art. And I always like talking to artists and getting their perspective on things. So, with that being said, let me go ahead and bring on my guest, the one and only Duarte Studios. Duarte,
Going
how are
on?
you this evening?
Good, 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 man. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you coming on. I always wanted to have you on as a guest, and I was like, I don't know if he'll do it.
I'm glad
Um,
I'm glad we were able to make it happen because traffic sucked. I forgot how it was too. You know, when you spend so much time in the cave carving up foam and painting figures and making toys and inhaling print fumes and all that stuff, you forget how the real world works. And when I went outside to just go run a quick errand, I'm like, I've been out for 2.5 hours. I got this podcast. I'm gonna be late too, and it's
oh
terrible.
no, you're good. You're good. I was just like, oh man, I hope my computer doesn't act up and like kicks me off or anything. So we got Jay Gonzo in here. What's going on, sir? He had a question for you. I
Yep.
don't know if he's still here, but he had a question about the Power Rangers Dio. Jeff is
Yep.
here. He's pulling double duty, I think, on another stream. And we got Toy Gains here as well.
Nice.
Welcome, Toy Gains. So my first question that I have for you is, how did you get into making dios? Like, what was the thing that caught your eye or caught your attention to where you were like, hey, this looks pretty cool. I kind of want to try this. I want to try my hand at this and see how this goes.
Um, I would say between Resident Evil's video game and Todd McFarlane's Spawn, I found myself doing a lot of cardboard alleyways and cardboard mansions, right? So like back in was it 98, I think, is when Capcom dropped the Resident Evil action figures because I remember the two-pack zombies very, very vividly, and the Chris Redfield with the Cerberus dog. And when I got those, I was like, man, I want to do like a whole city with zombies and destroyed stuff and broken everything and rust everywhere. And back then it was like cardboard with some paint and inhaling Sharpie fumes from painting the cardboard with it
Oh
and
yeah.
drying them out. And yeah, that was fun times, right? Those headaches were great. um and yeah, that's pretty much what got me started was Resident Evil video games and the Todd McFarlane Spawn character, with the action figure side. But what got me going with wanting to just world build in general, from HO trains to slot cars and all that, was Beetlejuice, the movie. The scene
Oh
where they walk
wow.
into the attic and you see the city for the first time. And I remember being a kid and just being like, I want a city. That was it.
Yeah, that scene is awesome with all the little model cars and
Yep.
all the little miniature
It's like you
things.
want to shrink yourself into that world to just play with it and then come back.
Yeah, it's I mean, getting to see other people because I know how big the whole miniature thing is with Warhammer and the
Yeah.
tabletop games, and then you also have the people that do the trains and the slot cars and stuff.
Hmm.
And when you go to these shows, you're just like, wow, this is so cool. Like getting to see like someone
Yep.
just taking like just like cardboard or something and building on top of that and adding the grass and the little houses and
Yep.
the little miniature people, the cars, the uh, telephone poles, and all that stuff is just really cool.
Yep.
I think when I got into doing the whole Dio thing, it was 6 years ago, and I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know what materials to use, but I kept seeing all these people on the ACBA
Hmm.
with just these amazing pictures of buildings and alleyways and streets, and I was just amazed. And I think that's what got me into it. But I didn't know about the EVA foam or any of that stuff. That came as a process.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So my second question, what was your first dio that you ever built?
Period or action figure related?
Uh, you could do either one.
I'll do both.
Okay.
Um, Action figure related, Resident Evil Mansion. Um, in general, oof, maybe when I was like 7 or 8, and it was just landscape and a small. It was mountains, hills, trees, and an exact replica of our house back in the homeland, in HO scale for the trains. Just basically a train layout diorama was probably the first like actual dio that I ever did.
Wow.
Hmm.
That's awesome. I think I think my first dio was when I started doing the YouTube thing and I went and I bought two pieces. I think I bought two or three pieces of the poster or the like the foam board that you would
The
use
foam
for like
core.
school projects.
Yep, yep.
And I was like, I mean, I'll try this. I'll try the whole brick thing out. And I like
Right.
went and did different designs and like drew and hand painted all the stuff on the walls and stuff.
Hmm.
But I mean, it was the way that I did it. I didn't know about if you add too much paint too quickly, the foam starts to
Warp.
curve up. Yeah, it
Yep.
starts to warp. And so I would have to like place my lights around to like weigh it down. And so I'd
Hmm.
be like in the middle of a review and a figure would topple over and I'd be like, ah man, I messed this up and
Yeah.
I should have waited. But I like
Yep.
the whole trial and error process of
That's the best
this
part.
Dio stuff. Like I didn't know how to carve bricks, and now I mean I still have to get used to the process of okay, this is the size that the bricks need to be,
All right.
because otherwise if I'm sitting here and I'm carving it, some bricks are going to look uneven.
Absolutely. Sometimes you want that though. The more organic it looks, the better.
Yeah, I never worked with the EVA foam, but then I went to Home Depot, and I bought some, and I was like, huh, it's actually easier to like cut into this stuff and do the whole bricks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but then uh, someone that I've been friends with for years on YouTube, he does occasional videos here and there, but he also did dios at one point, and he was telling me tips and tricks on the whole, whenever you cut bricks you use like the tip of an mechanical pencil or a pencil or a pen, and you go through the lines to kind of bring out the depth of the bricks
Yeah.
and
You could.
stuff like that.
That's definitely one way of doing it.
We got BX Medic here. Again, for anyone that's popping in, if you have any questions for Duarte in terms of Dio stuff, feel free to put it in the chat and I'll pull it up on here, and Duarte will be happy to answer any of those questions.
Absolutely.
So I I feel like I already know the answer to this question, but what has been your most challenging Dio that you've built? I feel like I know the answer to it, and I feel like it's been a pretty recent Dio that you've done. But what has been your most challenging Dio that you've built?
I definitely have to go with the command center.
That's what I felt like, it was adding all the LEDs and
Yeah, because it was definitely the best way that I could describe it to people who have no idea what a diorama is or what it takes to put one together or any of that stuff. Like just in super simple layman's terms, I would say that this was a confident fighter going into a fight, not having taken training camp seriously. And then I got to the fight and I'm in the third round and I'm like, oh shit, I should have knocked this person out 2 rounds ago. And it's hitting me back like, oh man, Xerxes could bleed. It's like, all right, hold on, let me take a step back. Let me ice off the little jabs in the face and let me come and finish this off strong, and I did, but there were definitely some hoops because adding LEDs to stuff is easy for me. Designing and printing is easy for me. Painting is easy for me. Assembly is easy for me. But then when you factor in hundreds of lights into something that I have to design now with the thought process of channeling for the lights. But wait, LEDs do get hot contrary to popular belief. So we have to keep it at 9 volts. But if we keep it at 9 volts, then the lighting is going to do this and not this. Okay, how do we get it back to here? And now that we're here, let's test the temperature. Let's keep the thermometer on it. Let's turn it on. Let's see how long it lasts. Is it going to overheat? What's the constant temperature at? All right, the human body's at 98 degrees. If the LED's at 98 degrees or even 100 degrees, it'll last forever. But if it goes over 110, it might fry. If it fries, is it easily replaceable? So these are all questions I'm asking myself. And that's just a third of the questions, because there's a lot more, right? I can go on for hours, and sometimes that's what the decision paralysis is. And I'll sit here and stare at something for 2 hours and like, what do I do? What do I do? And I'll be doing the weirdest thing. I'll get so overwhelmed that I'm looking in the kitchen like, is there something for me to? Oh, you know what? There's a dish there. Yeah, babe, I got it. Let me wash this dish. And I'm washing the dish, and I'm like, I figured it out. That's how I'm gonna do it. And then I run back in and I try it out, and I'm like, perfect, it works. So it went from, okay, LEDs are running too hot, to now they're running perfect. Okay, we've had this thing on for 12 hours consistently with no issues. No one's going to have a problem with it. It's perfect. But wait, now how am I going to fit the power supply in? And can I make these USB powered, so then I could just get a USB brick and plug all these? Because essentially it's 9 different outlets, 9 different setups, because these lights have to be separate from this light, and this light has to be separate from this one, and this can only power this many lights. And there's so many things involved that you would think it's just, 100 lights, cool, add them in, no problem. No, and then you have fiber optics, because technically it would be more than 500 LEDs, but because I physically can't fit them inside, I have to take a 5mm LED and run 4 fiber optic lines through it, so you have 4 lights shining through one versus 5 individual lights. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So
isn't it
a lot
amazing?
of back and forth and R&D work, and it gets very frustrating when I have to wear all those hats. I want to just paint, or I want to just sculpt, or I want to just do the LEDs. But after I finished battling Goliath's LEDs, now I have to figure out how to get that to fit in here and go in there, and it's a lot, definitely.
Isn't it amazing how you're like, oh, I want to add LEDs, I want to add lights, I want to add this and that to a Dio.
Mm-hmm.
And at first you're like, oh, I could do this. I could definitely do this. And then you start sitting there and you start getting deeper into thought, and you're like, oh man, this is this is gonna be a challenge trying to figure out how to do all this and set all
Absolutely.
this up and figuring out how to hide it to where
Yep.
people can't see it.
Yep. But it's worth it in the end,
So my next question, the next question I had for you played into all that, and it was, is it a difficult process to add LEDs to your tiles?
If you
So
don't think it
please,
through in the beginning, yeah, absolutely. If you just go in willy-nilly, guns blazing, good luck with that, pal.
because so I have three projects that I've been thinking about starting. One of them, because of seeing your Cyberpunk Dio and seeing the LEDs and knowing how cool LEDs would look, trying to take a picture with those Jada Cyberpunk figures.
Mm-hmm.
My thought was, how do you put the LEDs in there? Because the last time I took an electrical class was like sophomore year in high school, and it was like a real like, all right, here's how you do the wiring. Here we go. We're moving on to the next thing. So it's been so long, and I've just lost completely on how to do that, and I don't want to order LEDs,
Yeah.
try it out, and screw it up.
So it's a lot of the right voltage. You have to treat it just like a real building, like running conduit, right? You have to think of where those wires have to be hidden, where you want to drill the holes, route that to, what kind of power supply do you want? Do you want something you want to plug into a wall? Do you want something that will be powered by a 9-volt battery? Or, how much space do you have? Are you going to use like a watch type battery? But then if you use that only powers maybe 2 LEDs versus a 9-volt battery that could power 100 LEDs, So it's a matter of what you're trying to do with the space you have, and then figuring out which options or alternatives are the best ones to go to get the job done.
Now, what kind of LEDs did you use for the Cyberpunk Dio in terms of the?
So I use 3 millimeter, 5 millimeter, 1.8 millimeter, and then I use the fiber optic lines with the 3 millimeter LEDs to do the colors and the bends and the designs. But the only difference is you can buy them pre-wired from people, but all my LEDs I get just regular LEDs, and then I get the resistors and the wiring, and I do all the wiring and soldering myself in-house. So ultimately it's cheaper because I buy it in bulk, a lot of it. But if you're just doing a little side project, I would just buy like 9 volt pre-wired LEDs in whatever size LED you want, and then they can just be powered by a regular, either a 9 volt battery or a 9 volt power supply. And positive is to your positive, negative is to negative, and that's it. The job's pretty much already done for you. It's just a matter of you connecting everything.
Now, do you use like a specific type of material to get the kind of translucent look for the neon light? Or do you just use just like regular like translucent plastic or?
No, you literally buy. So if you're running a 3 millimeter LED, you're going to buy a 3 millimeter fiber optic line, and you just buy whatever amount of feet you want in that line, and you bend it to the shape that you want. It's
Oh
basically like
wow.
a wet noodle.
Oh wow. I didn't know. See,
But you got to be
this is
careful
why.
because there are certain fiber optic lines that are stiffer than others, and that if you try to do like a really abrasive bend on it, it'll snap. So you have to make sure that you get the ones that are either really pliable, like a wet noodle, or like ones that are a little stiffer. It depends on what you're trying to do.
I'm gonna have to see now. I'm gonna have to replay this and get all that,
There you go.
get all that information. So we have Kaiju Kitties here.
What up?
I haven't seen any questions in here yet. But I think if I remember correctly, Gonzo asked about the LEDs in the command center, but I can't remember exactly what the question was that he wanted to ask. But if he's still here, feel free to ask it. What is your dream Dio to build?
Man, I don't know. I guess it would just be to make a massive city that could be, modularly put together, different moving streets, sidewalks, buildings. So you could kind of just put it together in different configurations, because ultimately, which is essentially what I've been working on, is giving people that base so that they could kind of start and expand anywhere. And ultimately, when they decide, hey, I want to go bigger or I want to go smaller, they can. If they buy something from me today versus 5 years from now, it'll still all work because it'll be same sizing. Everything kind of goes together just like Legos in a sense, but without the pegs because it's square footage. And basically, that's essentially what I've been slowly trickling out to people at the shows with all of my little dumpsters and my mailboxes and my little street accessories, because I'm kind of bringing on the street and being able to, give you guys the adult version of a Build-A-Bear, right? Where you can come to the shows and you can build a Dio. So it's going to be called my bad series, Build a Dio. And not only do you build a Dio, but it's a badass Dio, right? So I'm going to be offering a whole bunch of, floor options, like, hey, I'll take that sidewalk with that street and, that building or that facade or that storefront or whatever. So ultimately, you don't have to feel as a consumer like, man, I'm going to have to spend like $10,000 to get my dream build. You could start small. You could start with just a few accessories, a little backdrop, a little floor, and a few accessories. You got a whole scene. It's all in what that camera picks up. Unless you really want to have a full-blown city, then that's different. And that's not only is it costly, but then you have to own a house just to have that on display because it's so big in 12 scale, right? So I'm really trying to focus on modularity and giving people options that are always extendable and usable down the line, because a street is a street is a street, can be used for so many IPs.
I think that's amazing too, because what you're in the process of starting with that line is what I wish I had when I started doing the whole taking a figure like this and having a background
Right.
and having the lighting and being able to do like pictures to where they actually look really clean and crisp and where you're able to see stuff, and in your mind you're like, oh wow, this actually looks like something that I would see in a comic book or I would see in a movie or
Exactly.
something like that.
Yep.
Now Gonzo had his question. He said, not sure if it's secret, but for the Power Rangers dial, or the lights set up as individual power connections to a controller chip fiber optics. There's so many lights. I was just interested in how it works.
Yeah, I mean, they're all connected to each other, and then they're all connected to each individual fiber optic line for the different colors and the different sequences and stuff like that. But ultimately, it all comes down to X amount of lights being on one USB plug, and then having the other ones be on that same thing, and then they all come to a USB brick. So basically, it's all USB powered lights that I just have soldered together and running the sequences. So for example, the blinking lights, I have slow blink and then I have fast blink. So the slow blink ones have a different resistor ohm rating than the ones that blink faster, and that's what makes the blinking. I could essentially make them all blink if I wanted to, but that's just how I pre-resistor them to do what they're told. So it's like having a mini microchip in the ones that blink to tell it to blink.
And then Lunchbox said, Duarte Studios, I'm going to have to get another watchtower and maybe some sandbags.
Absolutely, brother. And actually, I just came out with another design. I don't know if it's painted. Actually, I got the first base coat on it, but this is my newest.
We get a reveal.
Yeah, this is my newest sandbag setup. So it's a full U, but I have the wood brace on it. So you can put the sandbags on the top and basically have that like peeking through here kind of view instead of just a flat top, just something different, a little taller than the other ones and a little bigger. So another sandbag type that I'm going to be dropping soon, because the sandbags have been really, really popular. So much so that Hasbro stole the idea, obviously, but you know, it is what it is.
Good old Hasbro.
Yeah, listen, I'm not mad at them. It is what it is. But yeah, I keep dropping new styles, and that's the newest style, the biggest one to date that I've offered, that I'll have at ToyCon at the end of the month, actually. So I'll have a whole bunch of new little goodies there for sale.
Now, these, do you make those out of EVA foam, or do you 3D print them?
These are I designed and I print in house, because there are certain things that you couldn't pay me enough to sit there and carve that out of foam and then have to do it repeatedly. No way.
Now the dumpsters and stuff like that, the dumpsters, the mailboxes, the little smaller props, those are all 3D printed too?
Yeah, so so they're my original design. So like, I'll show you an example. So every single dumpster starts off like this in multiple pieces, and then it gets assembled with the applicable decals, right? Functioning, and this is essentially your unpainted, just do-it-yourself version. Comes like this. The ones you see that are weathered or rusted or melted, beat the crap out of, they all start like this, and then I sit there and I'll either torch it or I'll Dremel, or I individually beat the crap out of every single one, so there's no two the same ever, and it's authentic, organic. It isn't I designed it beat up and then I print them and they're all beat up the same, and yeah, the colors might change a little bit, but it's all the same dumpster. No, you'll never see two of the same one anywhere ever, and I do that intentionally because that's the artist in me and the art aspect of you collecting artwork, that you're like, I don't want to have the same thing that guy's got, you know? So that's what makes it cool with those pieces. Like my fire hydrants, you get what you get. You get one with chains today, the ones tomorrow might not have chains. They might not have rust. The red might be different. You know, I do it intentionally.
I love that though. I love that there's
Yeah, I think a
a
lot of people.
variation
It seems like a
between.
lot of people do. So I'm just I'll give with the fans what they want and just keep going with it.
I mean, I'm not obviously I'm not at the point where like you high school creation 78 points uh or at eventually maybe I'll get to that point, but as someone that likes to just sit there and do it as a hobby, um and even when I go to conventions I always try to buy a piece of art from an artist because I know how hard it is
Right.
to be an artist these days, with AI art and stuff like that. um and how a lot of like these people that sell art prints or like behind me this stuff here,
Hmm.
this is like stuff that helps them pay the bills, that helps them support their
Right.
families, that helps them do that. So I think that's awesome that there's different variations in the stuff that you do, and the fact that you do this stuff and go to toy shows and people are able to purchase this stuff from you. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
And BX said BX said your stuff is fire.
Thanks, bro.
Lunchbox said that's what's up, and he was also really excited about the sandbags. And
Awesome.
Jay Gonzo said, "Thank you, sir, for sharing. Much appreciated. Do you 3D print, resin, FDM, or both? What brand or model printer do you use? Which printer is your favorite, and why?"
Um, I do both. I run everything from MakerBots to Mark Forges to Prusias to any Cubics. My resin printer that I've been using, well, I haven't even touched it in over a year, if I'm being honest, because I just haven't had the time. And now that I moved to the new spot, I don't have an area set up specifically for it just yet. So since I can't print in house because the fumes will kill you. Um, but I was running, I think they were any Cubics as well, if I'm not mistaken. And what do I prefer? FDM, definitely, because resin is such a pain in the ass to clean, to set up, to it
Mhm.
just I hate everything about it. Um and let's see what else did he say. Printer favorite
Which
one.
printer is your favorite, and why?
The Mark Forge, because it's true. The more money you spend, the less headaches you have. And those printers are about 6,500 a piece, if I'm not mistaken. And I can probably count on one hand the amount of problems I've ever had with them. So that's probably why. I'm one of those. I don't like cutting corners. If I got to pay a little more, that's fine. But if it's worth not getting the headaches, I'll take it.
And then Roll Keeper said Duarte is a true artist. His stuff is fantastic.
Thank you, bro.
And then the next question I had, did you have any people who inspired you to get into making dios?
The people who created the city in Beetlejuice and the people that worked on the set of Independence Day, but that was all diorama builds.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
the city, the explosions, the all that stuff. Yeah, like when I got, and actually I remember seeing the behind the scenes on that when HBO way back in the day would do the behind the scenes of the movies. They showed that, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I was like, "That needs to be me." And my mom says it all the time. She's like, "If you were born like 20 years before you were born, you would have been a billionaire because you would have been doing what you're doing now during a time where they needed that, and there was no CGI or any of that garbage." You know?
Hmm. And now that era of true effects and doing the dives and stuff like that has died a little bit or has
Uh,
slowed down more, and it's more CGI than the true effects.
it's it's definitely died a lot of it, and I think that now the people who like support it heavily, spend good money on it, are true art connoisseurs that really want that museum experience or that talking piece or just being able to walk into their room and feeling like they're there in that, atmosphere, that setup, whatever the case may be, because I'm noticing that a lot more people are getting selective, as they should, because I rather buy, an expensive Mezco piece than like 13 cheap Hasbro pieces. And that's me personally. So, and that's also because of space, right? Space is limited, so I couldn't put 300 figures on display even if I wanted to. So since I can only put 30, I might as well make those 30 like really good figures, And yeah, that's I think that it's for the collector, the person that really wants it, or the person that's artistic and is trying to do it and doesn't really know how, and wants to learn. I want to try to keep it going that way, but ultimately people are getting way more complacent and lazy, and if they can get a computer to do the shit for them and look good in the picture and they don't need to have tangible stuff, they're okay with that. I mean, there's a seat for every ass, I guess, right?
Yeah, different strokes for different folks.
That's it. Not here to yuck nobody's yum.
But yeah, I mean, doing the practical stuff, at least for someone that also does I don't know what you would call it, figure photography, toytography. I don't know. The term has changed over the years since I started, but adding like practical effects in there, even if it's, something small like let me see. I don't know if I have a background on here that yeah. Here we'll use something like this. So I haven't built dios. I took a break from building dios for probably like 6 years, I think. This was the second dio I ever built. I think it took me like a week. And I mean, this was a completely different challenge in itself, because like I said, I've never done anything with lights, attaching lights to something or anything like that.
Gutter
And
guard.
so so I went to Home Depot and I asked them if they had the gutter guard, because they sell it in like a big roll that you could buy.
Yeah,
And they had no idea what I was talking about. They looked at me like I didn't know what I was talking about. So this is what I used for the fence is, it's like, I think it's called automotive mesh. And you cut it and you put it in your grill or areas and stuff like that. And so that's what I used for the fencing, and then everything else is just pretty much that foam from Home Depot. And then that little barrel right there was like one of those like dollar store barrels that you open and it has like the slime in it. But I mean, stuff like that, it just adds so much to it. It adds a little bit more interesting, I don't know, just interestingness, I guess. I don't know if that's a word. I might have just created a word.
Hey,
but
it's cool. It's the first time.
It just adds a little bit more. Like I love just going to like Hobby Lobby whenever I can, and getting the little soda cans and getting stuff like that. Just because it does. And I mean, for people that are looking to get into this stuff, or that are looking for tips, I mean, definitely ask Duarte because he's more experienced with it. But I would say, if you're wanting to get into doing dios and trying to do like the brick wall and stuff like that, I mean, I love that now on YouTube there are people that do step-by-step tutorials on how to do the brick wall, how to build certain things, and they build dios and they do like a whole step-by-step process, and I love it.
Yeah.
We got Virgo Cool, who is a fellow Legend Series Wrestling Alliance talent. I love that I'm in a video game now and all the people hate me. I get to play the bad guy, and I get to get booed by all the people. So another question I had was, what materials to you are the easiest to use for crafting dios?
Foam, 100%. Yeah. Yep. Especially when you have the right tools like the sharp knives, a hot knife, the hot wire. Yeah, foam, 100%.
And that's what people use to like carve the rocks and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Because I've seen people make like these huge, like cliff mountains or like cliff sides that are just, I mean, they're like huge. And I'm just like, how did they make all this? Did they like
With a
sit there
box
and
cutter.
cut it out of, so they just cut it out of foam and they just kind of stack it like you would a cake, like you would just
So
layer it and then
it's funny because you'll see people make these massive cliffs out of foam, and they take a box cutter and they literally go like this, and then they go like this the other way, and then they go like this, and they kind of just scrape it, and as you see lines like cut lines.
Mhm.
And I used to be like, that's terrible. You can see the cut lines, like it doesn't look real. Have you ever stopped to look at the side of a cliff on the highway? It's exactly what it looks like someone did. It looks like a huge dude came with a box cutter and just went
They just cut it. Yeah.
like crosshatch cuts and drags, and holy shit, that's exactly how it is. So like literally you could make a cliffside with a box cutter. No problem.
Yeah, it's just I mean, like I'll be scrolling through Instagram and I'll just see these amazing dials and I'm just like, how did they do that? How do you and then I'll sit there and try to like pull pieces apart and try to figure out, well, did they cut pieces from foam board and then did like I said, did they layer it and then somehow shaped it on the sides and shaped it around to where you can't see the pieces where they layered it?
Hmm.
It's just
Yeah.
I just love the little kinda it's like a reverse puzzle where instead of you're trying to put the pieces together, you're trying to pull the pieces apart and figure out how everything
Reverse engineering. Yep.
mhm. And Lunchbox said Back to the Future Dio. Duarte did it today, standard size, mind blowing.
Hey,
Oh, you
mission
did
me to
a
do
Back
it.
to the Future Dio? That's
I'll make
awesome.
it. Yeah, I'll make it.
And then the next question I had for you is when did you decide to start making your own props, like the little mailboxes, the dumpsters, stuff like
Of-
that?
Officially since 2013 as a business, but maybe 2010, like I was already like selling it on the side to buddies. Here's 10 for you, here's 3 for you, and then it was like, okay, I think I could make a living doing this. And then I made it an official business in 2013 with the RC side of things. And then Duarte Studios didn't really become a full blown idea until like post COVID, maybe 2021, something like that was when I was like, all right, I'm going to open up the Duarte Studios page, and this will be kind of like the mothership, right? Because I didn't say Duarte Dios. It's Duarte Studios because I paint, I draw, I tattoo, I airbrush, I work on cars. I do, if it's got art in it, I'm doing it. So studios wanted it to be the mothership, right? And now I can branch off into, bad dials, and I could branch off into whatever, but this will always kind of be the central hub thing. So about 3-4 years ago, full time with this side of it as well, on top of the RC side of things.
Interesting.
But the difference is with the RC side of things, I've veered away from custom anything, and it's just here's the accessories, here's the stuff, here's the do it yourself. I'm not really doing dios or building scale garages anymore or anything like that, because on the action figure side, people are more appreciative, and essentially the money is there for the custom work and the buildings and the sofas and the mailboxes and all the little tiny things that photographers love and wish they had. They appreciate it more on this side. So the RC side just gets they still get the dumpsters, but they don't get the weathered, rusted, beat up. They get here, do it yourself, because they don't want to spend the money on the artwork side of it.
I didn't even know there were dios for RCs.
Oh yeah, but it's mainly just scale garages and just things
Oh,
that
and
are
you just kind of
automotive related,
just plop your RC there to just take a
Yeah, you
picture
can
and
put it
that's
on
it.
your lift, so your mechanic can be working on it, that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Um So another question I had, and maybe you have an answer to it too. Whenever you're working on a diode, do you have like music playing in the background, or like something has to be playing in the background, or you have to watch something while you're doing it? Because
All
man,
three.
like trying to like just trying to do the brick like for this. I mean, what I have back here. Um, and I just recently started a little side project with the I can't remember what company did it. It was during the pandemic. They came out with a 1/12 scale mystery machine
Hmm.
for whatever the Scooby Doo movie was.
Hmm.
And I'm in the process of doing the interior of that. And so last week I added shag carpeting in there.
Hmm.
So now there's like shag carpeting, and someone was kind enough to 3D print me a mini fridge that I'm gonna paint and put that in there,
Nice.
and all that stuff. And I'm just like, man, I would probably go mad if I had to do this silent with no music, no nothing. I feel like I'm going crazy.
Yeah. Sometimes it'll be everything. I'll have something to stimulate the vision. If I look up and need a distraction, I'll have the music playing. Very rarely do I have it simultaneously happening like that, because a lot of times my daughter will be home and I'm already hearing like Bluey in the background over here, and then Five Finger Death Punch is in my left ear right here. So, yeah, I'm always listening to something. I'm rarely in silence. If I am in silence, it's bad. My head's bouncing everywhere. I'm working on one thing, thinking about the other thing, and no, I need my music to focus, or something good to be on, not necessarily to watch, but to listen to. And then, like, when it gets exciting, you're like, "Oh, they're fighting. Oh, okay, it's done. All right, let me get back to this."
Like I like to listen to like podcasts, or I have
Hmm. Yeah,
like
me too.
playlists already set up, or if I want to hear one song, then I just put it on shuffle and it just goes and goes and goes. And then if it's a song I don't like, then I'll just and then it just goes and goes.
Yep.
So I'm glad that what's going on, Jeff? Welcome back. So I'm glad that I'm not the only person that does this. I mean, I do it when I'm editing, I do it when I'm doing photography, just because it helps you get into the mind. At least for me, it helps me get into the mindset of, okay, well, I'm working on this specific. I want to start working on this specific dio. Let me
Right.
put on music that gives me the atmosphere of this. Like whenever I eventually start the cyberpunk one, I'll probably put on some synthwave or dark synthwave or something to get into that mindset of, okay, I'm imagining myself in this cyberpunk city.
Right. Yeah,
This
I
is
try to
what would
stick
be
with
playing.
themes. Themes definitely is a thing for me for sure. Like if I'm beating the crap out of foam, or like a project that I'm working on now that I'm not going to talk about, that'll be unveiled at a ToyCon, um, required a lot of foam beating and scraping and like cursing and stuff. So there was definitely some rock, some Five Finger Death Punch, some, like all that Marilyn Manson, all that good stuff, right? But if I'm like painting and finesse work and all that good stuff, I might be like rocking out to some R&B, or I might be like listening to some podcast about God knows what, or some conspiracy theory, or who knows, or maybe it's the newest episode of Daredevil, and I'm like semi listening, watching, and working. So it does depend on the mood, but for the most part, I try to stick with themes. Like I probably played the Power Ranger theme song over and over like 1,000 times just to get me back into that project when I was like, fuck these LEDs, bro. I'm done. I'm done with this shit. It's pissing me off, And it's like, go, power. All right, let's go, bro. Come on, you
It's
got this.
morphin time.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
LED time.
Yeah, yeah. Now I'm like, shit.
Now you're like, it's done. It's finally done, and I got to do it a couple more times.
Exactly. So, yeah.
So Jeff has a question here. Duarte, what inspires you more, sci-fi or fantasy? Also, go ahead and say it, Duarte. I know you want to. My name is my name is Jeff. My name is Jeff.
Yep, you said it. Mm, I don't know. See, I used to be like I would have said more fantasy, like swords and sorcery type of deal, because I do love like Viking lore and just Viking stuff in general, right? That's my jam. 300, Spartans, like love that stuff. But then, like, I find I find with that you have to be specific to a degree because you can't just be like, this is a Spartan rock, and you're like, it's a water bottle. And you're like, no, it's a Spartan rock. And you're like, okay, bro, it's a water bottle. You're clearly retarded. Something's wrong with you. Kick rocks. But if we go into the cosmic side of things, I'm like, this is space juice. And who the hell are you to tell me it isn't? You know what I'm saying? So with the cosmic side, I find that I'm a little more able to be not only just creative, but think more outside of the box where no one's going to be able to correct me. But if I try to tell you that this is a construction barrel, you're like, no, it's not, because this is a construction barrel, you know? So I think it's 50-50, honestly, because I there's times where I'm doing the organic stuff, making it look like a rock, and I'm like, I fucking hate this. And then I'm like, I want to do like a force field, laser cannon, bob a thingamabobber, right? And it's like, I want to do that. And then when I'm doing that, I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to carve some stones. So I'd say it's pretty even on both of them, honestly. It's really more the context or the IP itself, right? It's not, is it LEDs? Is it LEDs for the command center versus is it LEDs for like a lamp post? So it's really just contextual at that point, but I think it's 50-50 on both.
I feel like that's a shared frustration
Yeah.
between a lot of people that do the Dio stuff, because you're like, man, I can't wait to start doing a fence. And then you're like, oh man, now I gotta carve brick walls. Yay. Can't
Yep.
wait to pull out the ruler and start and while you're doing that, you're like, oh yay, I get to carve bricks. Let me pull out my X-Acto knife and start doing bricks. Really
Exactly.
wish I was rather doing like a beat up floor or something or anything else besides that. And then when you're done with the brick wall, you're like, I'm never doing that again. And then later on, you're like, man, I really wish I was carving bricks. Like the fact of ping ponging around
Yep.
different things that you're making is just like, it's I feel like it's a shared frustration. So Jeff also said, what artists have inspired you? Music, paintings, etc. You said fantasy earlier, so Frazetta, the old D&D book covers? Question mark.
Yeah, Frazetta stuff is cool. I think the only gripe that I have with Frazetta stuff is, the 6-pack having like 37 packs, right? Like I feel like he adds way too many abs in certain things, like ab muscles that I didn't even know existed, and maybe it's because I don't own them myself, but I ordered the muscle shirt. The muscles never came in the mail. But Frazetta's cool. A D&D, honestly, I never really cared about. I was never really a big D&D guy. Um I'm more historically accurate obsessed, more so than I am with the made up stuff, right? So, and same thing with like the cosmic-y kind of stuff. I like things that are made up but still have some sense of realness to it versus like a totally cockamamie thing that doesn't make any sense, hands over foot, and you're just making the stuff up. It's like making up words. So I think it's more lore for me in general, period. If there's a good story where I can imagine a scene or a world around this character, or like, where does this person live? What do they do? Where do they congregate? Where do they fight? Do they bleed blood? Do they bleed something else? Like, if I can answer a lot of those questions, I'm more interested in it than I am if like, hey, can you do me a rooftop for a Spider-Man? Like, I guess, you know?
So it's something like, if you're working on something like sci-fi, maybe you're like interested in something like Halo, where
Mhm.
the lore is just so deep and there's so many different alien races, and their universe is just so vast, and there's different planets and they're jumping from different planets, there's different colonies. there's different factions and stuff like that. I
Mm.
mean, that's why I've always found Halo so interesting. And I played all of them except for the more recent ones when I was way, way younger. But I always found like stuff like that interesting. So I
Right,
get where you're coming from with that.
right.
So Jeff has another question. So for city scenes, is that inspiration you find in public, or do you
Oh yeah, I'm
hunt for
surrounded by
images on Google?
inspiration when it comes to the city stuff, and it's always a compliment for me when people say that you do the best weathering or the best rust I've ever seen. Like I, I, that's an extremely nice compliment because I spend so much time when I am outside just staring at the most random shit. Like, why is this guy staring at the rust on a mailbox? And I'm taking pictures because, you know, I've learned that a lot of stuff now with Google, for whatever reason, you're like, man, I've seen rusted mailboxes everywhere. Like, I should be able to Google this. Go ahead, Google a rusted USPS mailbox. You'll find like 3 pictures. You don't, certain things you're like, man, how is there not any pictures? And then you think, well, why am I getting upset? Because realistically, who the hell is going to sit there and just be like, I'm the rusted mailbox photographer? So I got to be that guy, right? Because I need that reference. So I'm like, cool, next time I'm out and buy a mailbox, that shit's got rust on it, I'm taking a picture. And then I'm not only just taking a picture of that one, but I'm taking a picture of the rusted one 3 cities over because that one's closer to salt water and the rust content is different. See, now I'm overthinking the stuff, right? But that's part of the over delivery where you wanted a rusted mailbox. Not only did I give you one, but I gave you one that literally makes you feel like you need a tetanus shot after you touch it because it literally looks and feels that real. And that's what I strive for, because ultimately I want to make the photographer and the videographer's job easier when they do those pictures and videos where people are like, is that real? And then they're like, wait, that thing's got joints. Holy shit, that thing looks so real. And the scenery is what sold it, not necessarily the figure. The scenery was so good that you forgot to notice that there was cut lines on the figure, you know?
I think, is it also, do you also feel it's the same way too when you're trying to do graffiti and stuff like that? Do you go around and look at like graffiti art on the walls, like people that have tagged walls or murals that people have made of certain things like around your area as well?
So if I see it, it'll be just because it happened to be in my field of sight. That's one of the things that I actually don't do any real research for because I used to be a graffiti artist. So I already have my style. I know what I like. I know what I'm going to go for. So the other stuff is really irrelevant. The only time that I would ever look at anybody else's tag work is if the consumer was like, hey, can you replicate this? And then I'll obviously go look at the picture or look at the real world thing and replicate it and, pay the respects and all that stuff to the original artist. But like, that's one thing I never look for reference or research on because I already know in my head how it's going to look versus how would this rust in a winter setting versus a summer setting, where it's like I know what rust looks like, but there are major differences between those two. And why are they important? Because the person who's looking at it has no idea the difference until they see winter rust on a summer setting, and they don't know why, but something visually is off to them. You see what I'm saying? So if I can take care of all the subconscious work for you, then all you have to do is just enjoy what you're looking at.
Interesting. So Jeff has another question. Again, I appreciate everyone that's putting questions in the chat and asking questions. So Jeff says, what's your favorite construction, Art Deco or more traditional buildings?
I don't have a preference on. I like them both. Again, I have the itch sometimes where I want to do perfect architectural work. Like I have a diode that I started so many years ago, and it's been kicked around and broken and beat up, and I just don't know what to do with it yet. It's been around for so long. And it's like the perfect architectural 16-inch per beam, wooden beam structure before you put the plywood on a house type of deal. But then I have the ones where I'm like, I want to make bricks and just beat the shit out of them and break them and have them be unorganic and just all messed up and, you know, like a storm hit or it's been here for 400 years or essentially whatever the person looking at it wants to think happened. The point is the diorama tells a story. So I like them both. I don't have a preference. I like doing the hard stuff. I like doing the easy stuff. It doesn't matter.
And then Jeff has another question. Do you prefer a lived-in look or would you prefer neat and precise? And does that come out in your work? The command center is very clean inside, but on the outside, its environment and rougher.
Yeah, I prefer it to be. I prefer it to look like it's real, like it's been used, like it's supposed to be. I mean, obviously in the show, the command center inside was never dirty, right? You know, Alpha 5 obviously cleaned his thing, but on the outside, you ever see the Power Rangers or anybody else sitting there scrubbing the sides of a building? Absolutely not. So I wanted to show that wear. And that's the difference. Like if it was mass produced by Hasbro, there wouldn't be any wear and tear on it. It would just be a plastic gray mold and you would have to either weather it or do whatever you wanted to do. I always prefer weathering or super rusty, just lived in. Yeah. So people know that that sells the realistic versus, oh, this is plastic and it looks cheap.
And then Gonzo asked, what is your preferred design program and preferred printing program?
I'd say Tinkercad. Go to tinkercad.com. It's free. I highly recommend that you do the tutorials. It'll probably take you like 30 minutes, but after you do them, you'll have a really good grip on if you're going to be a good designer or want to do it, or if you're not going to. And if you do, it's probably the easiest, most user-friendly program you could use. I still use it to this day to do some of my most complicated stuff because I enjoy the program so much. And it's free. Can't beat it. It's actually a program that I can also use to teach. And I'm thinking of implementing that with my Patreon to be able to teach people hands-on how to design, and so much so that I can even sign in to your design space and edit and move your design in real time while you're on your computer watching me do it. So there's a lot of perks to that, and I'm really kicking around that idea.
And then Jeff had another question. He said, so your motorcycles are amazing. I'm looking forward to mine. Have you ever wanted to make an end-all be-all Akira style bike for one toll scale?
It's funny that Jeff mentions that because I really, 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 really like Akira a lot. That's one of my favorite characters, the whole thing. And there's been so many renditions of the bike, and I never cared to even get invested into it because I wanted that perfect figure. And now 5K has that perfect figure. I think it's the deluxe. They call it something else, but it's Akira. And it's the character dressed. It looks like Mezco made it. I think it's like $144 or something like that. And it's beautiful. Excuse me. But it doesn't come with the bike. It comes with like all these other accessories, but it doesn't come with the bike. And at $144, it's a little pricey. But even for me, like I would still get it. But I'm like, are there other people that are going to want the bike? You know, I don't want to just do it for me. If I had the figure, then yes, I would definitely be more inclined to making that be-all end-all bike with lights, like everything, the perfect bike like I would for myself. But I don't know that there's necessarily a market for it. And that's the shitty part about a lot of the stuff. There are certain things that I would love, love, love to make, but I'm kind of hesitant because I can't really afford to spend 2-3 months in R&D and then not sell any. And then what do? You know what I mean? So it's almost like if I have backers or guaranteed buyers, yeah, I'll make anything happen. That's not a problem. But Akira, I would love to. If I got my hands on that figure, I would definitely make that bike.
Because I remember asking Ace if he was thinking if he would ever down the road make like a cyberpunk, like futuristic cyberpunk type of bike, or like the Akira bike, because we are starting to get cyberpunk figures. Like Jada is already giving us the Edge Runner figures, but there's nothing really in that environment and that atmosphere that you can put in pictures that like kind of ties the little bow on it to this is cyberpunk. You can tell it's cyberpunk in the background. This is the environment, this is the atmosphere.
Yep. Yep.
These characters, it looks like something that belongs.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to be doing a lot of cyberpunk style. I love that. I like cyberpunk. I like steampunk stuff. I like just the mechanical meets the organic meet. Like I like all of that. So I have an idea for a hover bike. I have an idea for a regular bike. I have an idea for like a hoverboard, a skateboard, so many different things. And what trickled that too was that the Black Horn figure that 5K was selling. That thing impressed the hell out of me. It is such a beautiful, beautiful figure. It's like the Mezco that's fun to play with because it articulates so well. The soft goods on it are nice. It's got that gorilla-esque kind of vibe to it, which I like. I don't know anybody that doesn't like the band Gorillaz, right? And that's very cyberpunk-esque, especially with that dragon helmet it's got. So I was inspired by that dragon helmet to kind of create a little something cool for that, which will work for cyberpunk and all that. So yeah, without a doubt, it's not just going to be, I'm not just going to give people world building stuff for the urban. I also do the trees and the medieval, the sorcery and sorcerer stuff. And obviously I'll be doing the cyberpunk stuff and the turtle stuff and pretty much all the IPs. Like I'll do stuff for all IPs if there's a market for it. If there's the market, guys come to me, tell me, I'll definitely have no problem making that stuff.
Now you're making me kick myself for not buying that little guy. Because he sold out. He sold out on 5K. I remember.
Dude, he is amazing. Like I love that figure. I really do.
Because I remember seeing him on the Find My Figures page. Shout out to them. And I was like, oh wow, he does kind of look like that lost. Like he was supposed to be in the Gorillaz.
Yep.
But like he didn't make the cut or he's like that long lost member of the Gorillaz.
Yep.
And I love those like kind of cartoony. They look cartoony, but they border between like cartoon and anime kind of style. I love those figures because they look so cool and unique and
agreed.
And then Jeff also asked, what's your favorite story to tell on a diorama?
The one that gets people, the one that makes people question things and wonder, like, how did this get here? Whether it be a crime scene, whether it be an explosion, whether, like, I want people to look at my dioramas and feel like Dominic Toretto when he's looking at the street where Letty flips over and supposedly dies type of deal. I want them to like visualize in their head, like what happened that made that scene the way it is. Those are the ones I like to tell, the ones that get you thinking, not the ones that are just obvious. Like, oh, that was a gunshot. That was a bullet hole, obviously. But what happened? What made those bullet holes besides a gun? Like who made them and why? That's what I like to invoke in my viewers.
Interesting. And Jeff went ahead and put your information in the chat. Thank you, Jeff.
Awesome.
Lunchbox also said Akira is the bee's knees.
He is, and where I'm from, the bee's got knees.
And Jeff said, have you seen the State Farm commercial featuring Batman? If so, have you seen the want for that Batmobile from the fans? If there's enough demand, think you'd be down to make it?
I don't think I have seen this. You know what? I haven't because I don't watch regular TV anymore. And whatever commercials pop up on like the Netflixes and all that stuff, then maybe. But besides that, no, I haven't seen. So I'll look into it. But I mean, yeah, if there's a demand, I'll make anything, bro.
I think I've seen it on YouTube because I've noticed on YouTube now they are just pumping those ads out, man.
Yeah.
Like it feels like.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because like I used to have to stop what I was doing once every like 30 minutes to let them know I was still listening and whatever and skip one. Now it's every goddamn song is skipping, and I'm like, I have Pandora. I pay for Pandora where I've been paying for it since day one, so I could skip a billion times if I want to on Pandora. But I like sometimes being able to look up and see the music video that goes with it, or a video with the music to go for it. You know, something just visually stimulating. And yeah, it's gotten really bad where it's gotten so bad that what they're actually trying to get us to do is actually the opposite, because they're trying to get us to force us basically to pay to not have ads. So we're paying egregious amounts of money every month, but they're doing it so much that it's pissing me off more that I'm like, nah, fuck you, Skip. I will keep, bro. I got a wireless mouse for a reason. So if I go over there and I'm carving some shit, I'm like, Skip. Yeah, I don't care.
It's bad. It's gotten really bad to where like it feels like even if you watch like a 10-minute video, there's like 6 ads in it. And they also put those ads to where they're like hour-long ads and you can't skip it. And so I'm on my phone and I'm just like I'm clicking out the video, I'm clicking out, I'm hitting it again, clicking out, hitting it again. I'm just like, man, dude, YouTube, you need to relax, dude, relax. Um, Riley stopped by. What's going on, Riley? If you have any questions for Duarte, feel free to uh, put it in the chat. Everyone's been asking great questions. Um, and Riley asked, "Will you sell me a print of the command center?" LOL.
Well, like unpainted, like the whole thing, or just the central piece, or you got to hit me with specifics. I'll sell you whatever you want. You want to do it yourself, Godspeed. I'll print you all the parts and you can pay for those, and then you can come and pick it up and do whatever you got to do to it.
And then Jeff asked, "Are you a Marvel guy, DC guy, or Image guy? If so, what's your favorite hero or character?"
I'm going to go 100% with Image because Spawn is my all-time favorite character, point blank, period. Like it probably goes like Spawn, Deadpool, Wolverine, and then just a bunch of like other randos here and there for odds and ends and different reasons. But like Spawn is my guy. Like Spawn is my guy so much that like I'm still offended at the fact that they cast, what's his name, Jamie Foxx to be Spawn when they could have and should have still cast Michael Jai White, because that man's a machine. He's an amazing martial artist. He's in peak form, peak shape, and he is Spawn. So
wait, they casted Jamie Foxx to play Spawn?
Yeah.
I don't remember hearing this. This is a new information.
Oh, it's been around for years, but then it paused because I think they were having creative differences, Todd McFarlane and somebody else, and then Jamie Foxx had that like stroke, or somebody tried to kill him, or Diddy tried to Diddy him, or whatever. I don't remember.
Diddy tried to Diddy him?
Diddy definitely did it.
Oh, this is like the bat signal for Articulated Ninja to pop in. He said, "I heard you were talking about how Diddy."
Yeah, right.
Oh man, poor Frankie. Well, he's signed up for in a couple of days for his birthday stream, which everyone go to after this, or if you want to now, go over to Frankie's his YouTube channel, Ayo Frankie. He's gonna have his birthday stream. It'll be his first stream. He's got Duarte, he's got Ninja, two great guests, and he's gonna enjoy himself his birthday. So
I'm just going there to hang out with those guys, man. It's a good time.
And we don't know what Ninja got planned. I hope no baby oil's involved. There might not be no. Especially after his...
Well, it depends, you know. If you say nice things and you feed me first, you know, depends.
I'll never get over that. The beginning of him showing off your command center, and the picture of Diddy the picture of Laser Pants and the bottle of baby oil falling out the back.
Chef's kiss.
And then Gonzo asked Duarte, "Will you be going to DFW?"
Not 100% sure yet, because it's right around my daughter's birthday, and I'm not sure what we're doing this year for her. So 50-50.
Now, if you can't make it this year, is there a chance that we will see Duarte Studios at a DFW in the future?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Good, that makes me happy. I'm
Yeah,
glad that
definitely.
I'll make sure I set that cash aside so that I can get some beautiful Dio pieces. Uh, and then Riley said just like a big printed picture of it. I
Oh
want a
yeah.
picture to put behind my shelf. Sorry, I got slammed at work.
No, no, that's cool. Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna have various prints, and I'm also going to have like I decided that I'm gonna do merch like shirts, like my Duarte Studio shirts, and I'll have the dioramas like that I've created. Like I'll have one that has the command center shirt because like I even designed the Duarte Studios uh, Power Ranger logo, but it has my company name on it and all that stuff. So I'll be doing different merch like shirts for the different like bigger projects that I've done as well. But definitely prints from myself and from multiple photographers that I deal with, toy photographers that I deal with that will basically be selling them as well. So yeah, absolutely.
And Jeff has another question. Where's your love of mechs come from?
From meching. From Gundam, Pacific Rim, Power Rangers, right? You know, Megazord, all
I
that
feel like
stuff.
Exo Squad has to be on your list
Yeah,
too.
Exo. I mean, but that goes without saying, right? I feel like Exo Squad. Like, if you know, if you speak the word mech, Exo Squad is like it's kind of like talking about the NHL and not mentioning Wayne Gretzky, right?
Mhm.
It goes without saying, but yeah, I mean, um, Exo Squad, Gundam,
Would
all that.
Escaflowne also fall into
Yeah,
that? Because it's technically also another.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I dude, there's so many different shows and cartoons and animes and stuff that I wish I had time to watch, or stuff that I did watch, but it was that put it on, I look over a few minutes and I'm listening to it, but and you're like, did you see the part? And I'm like, no. So
Now this you talked about the cyberpunk bikes. There is one bike that I would love to see made, and
mhm,
I'm surprised a third party company hasn't made it, but maybe it's because I mean there's a very small group of people. Um and it's the Highway Star from Bubblegum Crisis. It's the bike. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of it. But it's a badass cyberpunk bike. One of the
oh,
main
I see it. Yeah.
characters has it, and there's an episode in it, or in the anime. There's an episode where this guy is like infatuated with like taking this muscle car and just upgrading it and upgrading and upgrading it to get it to like the max speed that it can.
Mhm,
Um, because he has like a hell-bent vengeance against like bikers. There was like a biker gang that cut him off, and him and his girlfriend got into a crash, and so he basically turned this car into like a death machine to like hunt down these bikers. And
mhm,
so whenever they put on the bubblegum crisis go into their whole transformation into their like mech suits, they also upgrade that bike too, and it's awesome.
yeah, I'm looking at it. That's pretty cool.
And Lunchbox said laser pantalones, who is I don't know who's feuding with him on Legend Series thing. But the Great White Potato will be in a wrestling ring, if you could believe that.
Oh shit.
Laser Pants will be Laser Pants will be wrestling. Um, I don't know who he's wrestling. I don't know if you've seen any of the clips from what laser.
I have.
What
I have. He's
it
doing good
is.
stuff over there.
It is very entertaining. There's a lot going on there. Um, J Mac is also on there too. He's in a little faction with Abby, and they're causing ruckus.
I think they're going
Um,
live soon, right?
um,
Somebody's going live soon.
I think 3POA I think goes live.
Oh, that's
Uh,
right, because it's Wednesday. Dude, I for some reason I thought it was Thursday. My time's all messed up. I'm like, yo, it's daughter's bedtime. I'm all over the place today, bro. Going out did not do me good. I should have just stayed in my little jail cell here.
oh, J Mac is feuding with. Oh, that should be an interesting.
Ooh,
That's
yeah,
going to be an interesting development.
nice.
Uh, I think I'm in the Figure Fight Club. Oh, look at everyone's joining Figure Fight Club. You see, Abby tried to get me to join too, but I I think I could win a championship without any help. But if not, I'm the bad guy. The people hate me, so you know what? I'll make them hate me even more. Um, if you want, we could end it here because
That's
we went
cool,
an
bro.
hour.
Yeah, no, that's
Um,
fine.
I don't know if anyone has any more questions for Duarte. Because usually I try to keep these at like an hour.
Yeah,
Um, just because people got things to do, busy lives and stuff like that.
absolutely.
But if anyone has any more questions, um, feel free to ask them in the chat. And I'll give you guys a couple minutes, and then if not, then I'll let you do your thing, do your plug-in, um, promote your business, promote your Instagram, promote your beautiful art that you make for all of us to enjoy. Um, Woody and Woody and Jeff stand on their own. I don't know if you've seen their wrestling move. I I gave them the name. I came up with a name for it, and I gave it to Tony, and he loved it. It's called "Hits from the Bong," a little throwback to Cypress Hill,
Uh-huh.
which Jeff had no idea who Cypress Hill was. And
Wow.
Lunchbox said, "Dorothy Studios, I want that mech."
So it's funny. There's quite a few people that want the mech, and I'm talking and getting prices and just making sure that everything is feasible. But ultimately, they were like, I don't care if you can't get it done. Like, I'll pay you to make me a one off. Like, I want it now. So there's quite a few people that have said that. So I might just take them up on it.
Yeah, it was impressive seeing everything being held together with magnets.
Hmm.
Um, like when I got back into making dios, I I like having the option to disassemble it and reassemble it with little to no ease because I know how much of a pain in the ass it is
Right.
to have multiple parts of a dio, and you have to make sure the wall is flat and make sure your table is flat, because if not, you try to put it up against the wall and then you go to take a picture and something leans over or it knocks the wall over. So I was like,
Exactly.
you know what, I'm gonna just start putting magnets in there, and I bought like a pack of magnets off Amazon, and all of them so far, I mean, the magnets are still really strong, everything
Hmm.
holds together, and that, yeah, it just makes me happy because I know I have had it happen to me so many times where I've gone to take a picture, and as soon as I go and I get it a clear picture, something falls over,
Oh
and I'm
yeah.
just like,
Yep. It's the
here we
worst.
go, here we go.
Yep.
And Jeff has another question. When or where can we see you next, convention wise?
I'll be at ToyCon New Jersey at the end of the month, April 27 and 28th.
And Shane finally came in here. I'm glad you could join us, Shane.
As we're leaving,
Towards as we're wrapping up.
it's the replay squad.
He could, yeah, replay squad. And Jeff went ahead and dropped everything in there
Awesome. Thank you.
again. Um, so Duarte, thank you so much again for sitting down with me.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
I no, thank you for being my guest. Like for real,
Yeah, man. My
because
pleasure. I like hanging out, bro. I like hanging out and talking, answering questions and stuff, and getting silly once in a while. Life is short.
because I mean, like I said, I'm new into this, or I'm new getting back into the whole dio thing and learning techniques and seeing different people's techniques, and I want to ask as many questions as possible, but not too many to where I feel like I'm
Right.
becoming a pain in the ass to someone. But I'd rather ask a question
Yep.
and get an answer on how to do something correctly, and then instead of, oh, you know what, I'll be high and mighty, I think I could do this myself, and then I go and try to do it and I mess it up, and oh, I just spent money on this, like the LEDs. Oh, I spent money on these LEDs and I just screwed up the
Right.
wiring, and now
Absolutely.
um so I appreciate that. Lunchbox squeezed in one more question. Do you
Yeah.
use earth
I,
magnets?
yeah. Of course I do. Those are the best ones to use.
And Shane said you can't have all the secrets, but some are okay. I agree with that. Well, Duarte, do you have anything to plug, anything to share?
Just tune in to my YouTube, as I'm going to be dropping some videos very shortly. Duarte Studios, and Instagram Duarte_Studios. And if you're not going to ToyCon, pay attention to the IG, because I'm going to be doing stuff for people that aren't going to go either, and I'm going to be unveiling a lot of cool stuff that weekend. So yeah, that's it.
And Gonzo had one more comment. Thank you for answering my questions. You were an inspiration to get off my ass and start doing rather than being scared to fail. Don't trip though. I'll still be placing an order for artwork. LOL. Thank you, sir.
Awesome. My pleasure, man. And listen, do it, bro. I hope you do. I hope you have fun doing it, because that's the most important thing. If you're doing it just for the money or because you think you're going to get rich, you're not. If you're doing it because, yeah, do it because you love it, and then worry about where it'll take you from there. Because there is so much work that I rather inspire somebody to get off their ass and do something, and then be the one to give them jobs, because I can't take them all. So start it because you actually want it for you, and make sure you love what you do. And then once you figure out that you love it, then you can kind of deal with the other headaches. Because trust me, when you wear these other hats that we don't want to wear, it sucks.
And there's Duarte dropping some beautiful inspiration amongst the chat.
Yep.
So with that being said, again, Duarte, thank you. Next week I got Toy Gains on, so it'll be
Nice.
a little bit more get
More
ready.
sexual.
Yep. We're breaking out. Well, I'm not breaking out the sex spots. Gaines will break out the sex spots.
He'll bring enough for everybody.
He'll bring enough for everyone. So, if
Yep.
that's your folk, if that's your stroke, and you're a part of the different folks,
There
then
you go.
yeah, tune in next week because
All right, bro.
get interesting.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yes, sir.
Later.